Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a very special Valentine's Day episode. Welcome to Converse with a Coach. My name is Mireille Karera, and I am your host and the CEO at Karera Coaching Group. Thank you to all of you who have joined on time. We have experienced some technical issues at the speaker's end. It was unfortunate and not due to circumstances that we could control. But here is the good news. We are having a Valentine's Day episode. So welcome to all of you joining us from Kigali, Rwanda. And special warm welcome to the audience in South Africa, where our speaker is based. My speakers for today is Pindile Yende. Pindile, welcome to the show.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Pindile Yende from South Africa in Joburg, and I'm so happy to be on this platform to share my insights and just enjoy this evening, just chatting all about love.
Indeed, it's all about love. There's love in the air. Love in the air. There will be loads of flowers and chocolates and wines being consumed today. In fact, while we were waiting for us to go live, instead of stressing, you know what I did, Pindi? As I call you, Pindi. I had my Africoa chocolate. I was having the chocolates and I thought to myself, I can't control anything. Let me just have some of these. And I posted something online and with the that, it is a family business. So if you are in SA, if you are in Rwanda, there are some specials for Valentine with Africoa. So you can find some more details on that on africoa.com, Africoa with a K. Now, back to the reason why we are here today. So if you are joining us for the first time, whether you're joining us from South Africa or Rwanda or North America, where we have quite a lot of viewers that log in at every occasion, Converse with the Coach is a Sunday show that I host. And my team and I really put this together because we believe that where we are today as a world, we need to have more of coaching conversations around various topics. Some of the topics that you would have seen covered on this very same YouTube channel will be around mental health, business related, how to make the right decisions, how to take your power back, or life after divorce, or anything that has to do with personal leadership as well as organizational leadership. So if you are new to this very same platform, I'm asking you to now go and click that subscribe button and like this show once you have clicked on subscribe. So you will get to know more about what else we have not only covered since August last year, but you will also receive some updates on upcoming exciting speakers that are from all around the world. And I will share more on that towards the end of the show. So, love is in the air. Love is in the air. It is Valentine's Day. Whether you celebrate Valentine's Day or not, I am pretty sure, and that was a prediction, that Valentine's Day hashtag is going to trend because that is something that the world has embraced as a day dedicated to love. Whether it is love in the romantic sense or brotherly love or friendship type of love, today is a World's Day for Love. And my guest today is South Africa's national bestseller of a book that she has written on the very same topic, which is called Yet You Married Him. Today, Pindile is going to talk to us about how you can be sure that you have made the right selection or you made the right choice when it comes to relationships, particularly long-term life partnerships. And part of other things we will discuss throughout the show will be around your own love, self-love, even if it means you must have chocolates every now and then. And also give yourself some flowers. I've done both. So, Pindile, I know you have done a lot of research and we will go into the topic a little bit later. I have a tradition on the show, and the tradition is for my guests to share how we met. Do you remember how we met?
Oh, of course I do. I could never forget that. So we met through a common friend, Refilwe, and you were in South Africa at that moment. I remember you were her coach, and we had offices in Sandton. And at that time, you were also using the offices that we were using through the African Women's Movement, which is an organization that we were running that prepares young women to take up their positions in leadership and not be shy about doing that. And I remember you were the coach to our president at that time. And yeah, and it was just so refreshing meeting this gorgeous lady from Rwanda. I had not been to Rwanda at that time. And then I remember the only thing that I'd remembered about Rwanda at that point in time was the genocide. And then when I saw you, I was like, this genocide really, it shows that, people are living in Rwanda. There's life after the genocide and all of that. And it was just so refreshing to meet you and just getting to know about Rwanda. I mean, you are the one who actually made us fall in love with Rwanda. After we met you, we went to Rwanda, and I can't remember how many times we've actually been to Rwanda after that. And yeah, you opened up our eyes to just so much about Africa. I remember when I got to Rwanda, I had such a huge interest in actually visiting more countries in the continent because I just fell in love with what I saw in Rwanda. But I must admit, Rwanda is still home for me. I've been to a couple more countries in the continent, but none beat Rwanda.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's true. Actually, I forgot about Refilwe and me coaching her, and it was just around the time when AWM was being, launching as well. I remember
Yes.
actually seeing you for the first time, in addition to meeting Refilwe, who is your business partner and a partner there.
Yes.
You were actually running that and at a conference in Joburg in Sandton. And I remember seeing
Yes.
you and Refil were being vibrant young South African women that really had the continent at their heart, and they wanted to do a lot of things for African women. So I just felt, hey, there's something I need to do with you and ladies. So yes, you're right. That was back in 2000, I think it was 17 or 16.
17, 16.
Something.
16, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I also remember that after your first visit to Rwanda, your team and has decided to actually host a conference in
Yes.
Kigali, right? Was it 2017 or 18?
I
Remind me.
think that was 2018. That
18,
was
that's
2018 in May. I remember. Yes.
that's right. It was around Africa Day where over
Yes.
women professionals from South Africa and actually West Africa came to Rwanda
Yeah.
to talk of women economic empowerment activities.
Empowerment.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, we go a long
Yeah.
way, don't we?
We do. Hey. We do.
I see some people have joined. Let me acknowledge them. If you are joining us from any other country outside of Rwanda, please let us know where you are joining us from. Hi, Kevin. I see Kevin has shown that she is already on the call. So do let us know where you're joining us from, and we'll make sure that we acknowledge you as well. So today is Valentine's Day, and also fast forward, I've been following a lot of great works that you're doing, not only in South Africa but also in on the continent. And the book you have written, Yet You Married Him. It's quite an amazing title, by the way. And congratulations for
Thank you.
international bestseller in SA. The book you wrote, can you tell us a little bit more about you and how you got to not only write the book, but the journey that you have taken? And we'll be getting to the research and we'll take questions from the audience later on. So over to you, Pindi, to talk to us
Okay.
about.
So Yet You Married Him, just to start off with the title. It was a title that I wrote for myself. I mean, 6 months into my own marriage, I realized that my marriage wasn't going to work. And then I just thought to myself that, you know what, I need to journal this, because oftentimes in our marriages, especially in our Black culture, is that there's certain things that you're just not allowed to discuss with anybody when it comes to your marriage. And I thought to myself that, Pindi, you saw the signs way before you got married to this man, yet you married him. So that's where the title actually came from. It was me taking ownership of saying, nobody forced me to get into this, but yet I got myself into it. So Yet You Married Him. That's where the title came about. So as I've mentioned before, 6 months to my marriage, I realized that I had seen all these signs that our marriage wasn't going to work, but now here I am, and I am in this relationship, and it's a toxic marriage, and I needed to basically vent out. And the only way for me to vent out was actually in writing this journal. I never ever thought it was going to be a book. At that time, it was a healing thing for me, because they say sometimes when you write, that's how you get your healing. Sometimes when you talk, that's how you get your healing. But this was a situation in which I could not speak about. So that's when the book actually came to life. This was in 2012. I got married in 2012. And then as I was writing this journal, Mireille, I then realized that, you know what? I'm going through this situation, but how many women out there are also going through the situation? I mean, I was a young 30-year-old. I felt that life was all about ticking boxes. You go to university. After going to university, you then decide that you're going to buy a small little townhouse. You're going to buy a small little car. Then what happens? The next move is to get married. And then after that, then your peers are also getting married. And it's like, oh my gosh, it means it's time to really get married. Then you meet this gentleman. When you meet him, when you see him, it's the picture that you'd like to see, but you don't really do proper due diligence in actually knowing whether this person is actually the right person. Because if you see a person at first glance, that's not who they are. They have a background, they have friends, they've got a way in which they were raised, they've got their own belief systems. So a lot of things come into play that mold him into being the person that he actually is, that you need to first get to know before you even make the decision to get married to this person. Did I do that? Absolutely not. For me, I was just charmed. It was butterflies. You know what, us ladies, you just want to get butterflies.
Just
And
like
then after that,
today on Valentine's Day, and sorry to interrupt, and I'll be doing a little bit more of that.
okay.
I love how you are sharing your story, which is from many, many years ago. And I know that guaranteed out of the 7 billion people we have in the world, there are people who are going through the same emotions, the same feelings. So I just wanted to just really echo that and really hope that people will learn from your journey today. And I see some people are joining, and we have someone following us from Iran. Hi, I think you're the first person in Iran. We are so blessed to have you today. So do continue to share with us where you're calling from, and if you have any questions, comments to share with us, we'll pick them up as we go. So please carry on, Pindi.
Okay. So yes, so it was all that of trying to do things according to how it is expected of you to do them, especially as a woman. I mean, I know a lot of aunts are also asking, when are you getting married? You know, everybody else is getting married. When are you getting married? Then I met this gentleman. He presented himself as the kind of guy I would have liked to be with. You know what we always want: tall, dark, handsome, ambitious, got a good job. And he had all of that, Mireille. And guy wanted to marry me. And I was like, why not? But for me, it was only thinking about the white dress. It was me thinking about living happily ever after. I didn't really dig deep inside to see, Pindi, can you really be with this person? Do you know him that well? And not just me also knowing that person, Mireille, because he also had to know me well in order for him to know that, is this the kind of woman that I can really build with? Is this the kind of woman that it's not just about the way she looks, maybe, or how she speaks, or how she dresses, and all of that, but can we really make it together? Because I always believe that you know, when I got divorced, people would always say, but he was that wrong. I was like, it doesn't necessarily mean that he was wrong. It's just like maybe we're not a good match for each other. Maybe if it was a different kind of woman, he could have been a different person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I also wanted to just mention, to say that it is not just about women. Even though the book's title is "Yet You Married Him," it could have been "Yet You Married Her."
Her.
Maybe a
Absolutely.
sequel, isn't it? A sequel to the next bestseller. So that's me,
Agree.
the business coach speaking. So the reason why I just brought it up, Pindi, is just because I don't want our audience, male audience,
Yeah.
listening to this and think that it's only for women, right?
Women.
So that it's a two-way street. It's both genders, and I love that you've done a lot of research and you will be addressing both sides of the aisle, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So that's how the book came about. So the book comprises of 22 characters of men. So as I mentioned before, when I was journaling it, I was journaling it on my experience. And then I just thought of other experiences, of the conversations that I've had with other women, whether it's a woman that you meet at a spa and she's stressed about her husband, or it's an old friend who used to stress about her boyfriend and all of that. And then I then thought that let me write different stories that would address different women, that would address different kind of men, and actually see um, how I can put it forward in a book so that everybody can be able to relate. Because sometimes you write your own story and not everyone can relate to that story. But if you address everybody, then people can actually draw to you, and you'll then be able to actually be able to speak to more people and be able to sell your book to people so that they can all be able to relate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I know that where you are, it's becoming sunset. It looks like the sun is,
Okay, yes.
do you
All right.
mind sharing more lights, because
Will do.
it's
Will
becoming a
do.
bit darker,
Dark.
Fabio.
Okay.
Even more, yes. Thank you. Would love to see your beautiful face till the end of the show. That's perfect. Thank you, Pindi. This is great. Um, so, Valentine's Day is today. There are many people who are obviously considering the options, shall we say, men and women. In your opinion, having done a lot of research as part of writing the book, and I know you do a lot of talks on this specific topic, what would you say is a thing or two that people can think about as they select or think about selecting a life partner or a partner in general? Think your
Okay. Can you
yeah,
hear me now?
I can hear.
Okay. Well, Mireille, you know, one can't always say that these are the steps that you actually take when selecting that life partner, right? The only thing is that I always say to people that Only you know what it is that you want from your life partner. Only you know what it is that you can be able to stand in a marriage. So you need to be true to yourself when selecting that lifetime partner, right? I mean, a lot of women, sometimes you'll hear them say to me that, how can you leave your husband because he was cheating on you? But that is me. I can't be with a man who cheats. Other women can. They definitely go through the entire marriage with a cheating husband, and that is fine. But for me, it's about how do I want somebody to express their love for me because of the kind of love that I express when I'm in a relationship. So if for me it's a deal breaker that I need to be with a man who is honest, I need to be with a man who is affectionate, I need to be with a man who has good morals. So it's different things for different people. So that is where I always say self-love always has to come in first for yourself before you even decide to go and love somebody else. So it is important that when you are your own individual, you know that I love myself so much that this is what I want and this is what I do not want when I'm in a relationship, so that I can be able to give the best of myself to this person, and that person will know that this is how this person loves themselves, this is how I also need to love them. And the book I also stipulate that it's always important to do your due diligence. Due diligence doesn't only apply in business, it applies also in relationships. You need to know how this man was raised, right? You need to know how this man was socialized. You need to know the company that this man keeps. You need to know how this man even manages his own finances. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You need to know how he wants to raise his kids. We could want to raise children differently. I remember, Mireille, when I used to have a discussion with my ex-husband about the smallest thing about schooling, I would say, I prefer to take my children to a private school. And he never understood that. Why do you want to take your children to a private school whereas we could do this and this and this and this with money? And I'm like, that's because I believe in a certain type of education that they need to get, whereas he believed in, let's get ourselves more material things. And for me, it was like the importance of education more than the material things. So it's small things like that. Can I just switch the light on? Okay.
Wonderful. As you do that, Pindi, what I see that is of great essence now is really for people who are following us to understand the one important thing that I heard you say. I don't say there were two, but the first one is self-love. Self-love, knowing what is good for you, choosing yourself first. But that also requires for you to know yourself, to know what you want, what you don't want, how you want to be treated and not be treated, and also listen to yourself. In coaching, when we do our personal development and life coaching classes, what we teach to people and future coaches is that you have to go through a personal discovery journey to know in depth who you are. Because typically we don't know who we are. We think we are who we are, but we are actually the sum total of many things. And we think that what people say around us, the environment, our functions, our roles, actually define who we are. So the self-love is connected to self-discovery. And that is something that I want to do before selecting a partner. So I just thought I need to share that. And also on the due diligence side of things, 100% is exactly like in business. It's exactly what, for example, a bank or an investor will do. They will want to know more about you. How credible are you, right?
Yes.
And they will want to know your history. And the same thing applies to marriage, because marriage is an agreement. It's a legally binding contract, just like taking a loan or etc. So I just wanted to really re-emphasize that for people who've just joined. I see we've got Canada and Burundi joining. Thank you. If you all have questions or comments or something that you may have wanted to ask a marriage coach or relationship expert, please do share those. Pindile is here to answer them, and I will do my best. Not being a marriage coach, but a life coach and business coach, we can certainly, both of us, tag team and answer some of the questions that are, I'm sure, very pertinent to your journey. So back to where you were. So in the process of writing, thank you. We can see your beautiful face.
Okay. All right.
In the process of doing that, Pindi, there's a lot that you learned that could have been undertaken, and your heart is now to teach people, men and women, to make sure that they have got the right tools to select the right partners. So take it away from here.
So, Mireille, it's very difficult for me to say I've got the right tools. It's experience. I've got what I learned in my experience that I always want to share with other women, with other men as well. You know that, as I mentioned before, that for me it was about ticking boxes, and you realize only later that life isn't about ticking boxes. It's okay if you want to get married at the age of 50. It's okay if you don't even want to have children. That is fine. But what you always need to do when selecting your partner is being true to yourself, as I mentioned before as well. And for me, Mireille, sharing my life experience, because every time I speak, I always prefer to share my own personal experience. I think people can relate better when I speak about it. I mean, I was in a marriage for 6 years, Mireille, and I knew within the first 6 months that it wasn't going to work. People always ask me, why did you do that? And I always say that I was afraid of what people would say. I was afraid of, I have 2 small children. Who's going to want to raise them? I mean, I remember even at some point, it came to me that I'm so young. Who's also going to marry me with 2 children already? So as time went on, that's when I realized that I needed to work on myself. As I am working on myself, that's when I'm then able to cut out the noise of what will the world say and now focus on what is actually inside of me. And when I then realized that I need to now check what is inside of me, I decided to then select myself. It was no longer about selecting the husband that I was with at that time, because when I stayed in that 6 years, I was choosing him. I wasn't choosing myself. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, I then realized that even should I leave this marriage, whether somebody else is going to marry me or not, that's no longer important for me. I love myself enough that even when I'm alone, spending Valentine's Day on my own, that is still okay. Even if it means that I have to raise these children on my own. I had to believe that I'm a hardworking woman. I'll be able to do it and be able to look after these children by myself. And I came to that point. Now I'm even at a point that because I now know that I need to choose myself, I now know the kind of partner I need to choose in order to enable me to always choose myself before I choose anybody else, if you understand what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much for being so transparent and also sharing your experience. It is indeed out of our own stories and experiences that we help others to be the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Our life. And as you were speaking, you know what? Pindile, I just got reminded of something that I had not even considered for this talk, yet I'm sure it's going to serve the listeners today's or those who will follow later on. We know that in Africa we have a large population of the youth, and a lot of them follow us, follow this show. And I think it's really important because when you were making that decision, in spite of what you knew was not the right thing for you, you were still young, you were in your early 20s, etc. I experienced the same thing as well when I think I was 23. I was 23, a student in both in England and in Germany at the age of 23. Met an amazing man who was very kind, gentle, and for him, he knew that I was the type he wanted to be married to. So fast forward in my last year of university, when I turned 25, he proposed. He proposed to me, and we got engaged. And we moved in together. Right. So we moved in together. I had to move from Germany, where I completed my study, and relocated to London in the United Kingdom with him. But the whole journey was more than 4 years, almost 5 years, between the age of, I think, before 23 and towards the end of my 20 years. So I think I was in my late 28 or so. I went through that journey you're describing much earlier on, where I knew he was kind, he was genuine, everyone around me loved him, and really, on the surface, he has never done anything wrong. But somehow I knew that he was not the right person for him. But because I said yes to everyone and I didn't say yes to myself, I kind of carried on. And at some point, I woke up. Literally, it was like an awakening moment, similar to your story, where I had to say, I am not really pleased with this relationship. But it took me years to walk that journey where I say yes to myself, yes to my career. He wanted to have children back then, and I didn't want any children. I just wanted to work and have a career, travel the world. And I knew that, after Germany, after the UK, I would live on different continents. And that's what I did. That's what I did for 10 years, but that meant I had to say no to him. And I felt guilty. There's a lot of emotions that, I had to overcome and go through, like many people listening to us today. So I had to, and I can tell you, I had so many sleepless nights because as women, we tend to feel guilty, and then the family loving him. His family adored me. And, but we will come back to the technical and research that you did, but just really wanted to go with you by sharing my story in transparency as to how I had to love myself, because at the end of the day, I live 24 hours with myself and my conscious and my heart, right? Yeah. So on the outside, it all looked amazing, but on the inside, there was something that told me I would never satisfy him, because I wanted a career. I wanted a global career, So yes, I did all of that. I left the UK, worked in Dubai for many years, worked in South Africa, in Kenya, and now in Rwanda, and I am fulfilled because I said yes to me. And of course, relationships, you come back to getting to know each other from a different point of view. So I just wanted to share the story to people who might possibly be having to make a lot of tough decisions and having external and internal conflict. So I hope that by hearing our stories, you will say yes. Hopefully it will be yes for you and him or her, but learn from our stories. So
absolutely.
Tell us a bit more about the different types of people you have researched. I heard you say 22 characters.
Yes.
What are those?
Yes. So I'll mention a few. So there is baby mama drama. So that is when that is when you get married to a man who already has children. There is getting married to the divorcee. There is getting married to a man with new money, which is a great phenomenon in South Africa, because after the apartheid system, a lot of opportunities were given to Black men, and from there, marriages were just not respected anymore and so forth. Whereas a lot of families actually broke because now these men had money that they didn't know what to do with. And you know, as women, we also love money. We all want the same guy that has that much money, you know? And I also have the highly educated man. I have the one who was the rich kid who was born in a rich family. So it's a whole mix of the different kind of men. I have a man who was born in poverty, a man who never received an education. So what I say in the book is that these are probably the experiences that you will have when you are married to these kind of men. And when I mention these experiences as well, Mireille, I also take it from the research I did from a psychological point of view, because I'm not a psychologist by profession. So I obviously had to read more about what actually goes on in the minds of these men when you are actually married to them. I've got a chapter on the narcissist, which is what is happening a lot as well in marriages right now, where you find yourself married to this narcissist, whereas you try everything that you can and to make this marriage work. But when you're trying to make this marriage work and the person doesn't realize that I'm actually not serving this woman the way I should be doing, it's actually pointless. But usually when you are married to a narcissist, it is more of a psychological thing, more than just being married to somebody who is stubborn. And when also looking at the
I
also
love
when
how you pointed out the behavioral aspects of different types, and there's a huge, and I'm sure all of the types are very much applicable to women as well. So I'm thinking highly educated woman, a partnership with someone who may be, in a different situation, it could bring up a lot of interesting dynamics. Or also, I'm thinking about, not only power dynamics, but also economical aspects of that and the impact they have on the relationship. So as part of the due diligence that you mentioned earlier on, it will make perfect sense really to assess those dynamics that you can easily pick up at the very beginning of the relationship if you allow yourself to pay attention to that instinctive voice that will always point north, etc. So I just really wanted to jump in there so that when people hear men, it's really also applicable to women as well.
To women.
I'm not seeing any questions or comments for people to maybe share with us if they've experienced the same thing or a different story or have any questions, but please continue with the different types of relationship partners that we may come across.
Yes. So, Mireille, when the book, the beautiful thing that I feel about the book and what I've also heard from the reviews is that I'm not bashing men at all. Neither am I bashing marriages. What I am basically looking at is that here is the situation that you are likely to find yourself in. So when you are in the situation, this is how you can actually fix the situation by being able to identify the issues that are actually in that specific relationship, right? And a lot of the times as well is that when a man reads that book, he reads it in such a way that if Pinder could write about this, and these are really the issues that I am giving my partner, this is how I should actually go about seeking help, So I'll make an example with the one who doesn't have an education, where I speak about when you're married to an educated woman. There'll be a time when Mireille needs to go on a business trip with his male business partner, right? And your husband won't understand that. How do you go to London with your male business partner? Because he doesn't understand how it actually works in the corporate world right now. Already that causes problems in your marriage already. So it's those kind of things that you as the wife need to know, that when I walk into my house, I leave the CEO position of Cora at the office and I actually bring Mireille in at home, because he married Mireille. He didn't marry the CEO of Cora Coaching. So women are also able to pick up that, okay, maybe the reason why my husband is having so many issues with my position, this is how I can actually change and actually be a wife at home and not be the CEO at home, you know? So it doesn't only address the man, it addresses the woman as well. That how do you then be able to relate to your partner, because now this is the position you hold, but you're still a wife at home, you know? And I know as well with the rich kid, being married to a rich kid, it doesn't necessarily mean that if he has if he's from a rich family, he's also going to work hard to actually keep that money or to even grow that money. So as the woman, you still need to play a role in making sure that you motivate your partner, you try to be his cheerleader so that he can still be ambitious and still be able to keep the riches that are in the family. And how to also deal with your in-laws, because in-laws get so involved in our marriages. When you get married, you're not just marrying your in-laws. There's a lot of things that are going to happen and how you should actually manage them. So we look at those kind of backgrounds, that when you do find yourself with this person, this is exactly what would probably transpire, and this is how you should handle it. I'm one person, Mireille, I never ever say to anybody that this guy's toxic, you need to leave that person, but rather on how you can actually work on it and make it work. But obviously, there are instances in which, as a woman, you know that this I can handle and this I cannot handle. We've got a lot of GBV in our country, South Africa, gender-based violence, and usually it's because of women staying in toxic relationships and not being able to make the decision that this isn't working out and I need to actually leave. So obviously there are situations where I speak in other chapters about abusive relationships, that there's only so much you can do and you need to leave. Otherwise, you're going to live in a body bag. So yes, those are the kind of things that I speak about.
Wow. So this is powerful. The good news is that we started a little bit late, so we were going to finish also a little bit late. So we've got 15 minutes into the show, and I'm seeing some comments and questions already. What I love about what you said is the behaviors on both sides, right? Whether you are a powerful CEO or someone who holds a prominent position. As a woman, clearly you need to know what dynamics are involved when it comes to relationships. The same with men as well. So that's a fantastic education. I think, now coming back to us as Africans, right, whether Rwandans or Burundians or South Africans, there are a number of things that we were historically not told, right, in terms of you behave when there is the new money. And I'm glad that you mentioned South Africa, because it is a prime example for all of us on the continent, where we now have a generation of new Black South Africans that are millionaire, are billionaires, that are African. And that, for them to know how to behave with resources and at the same time in relationship, really needs to take some time for someone to be educated, not just to do due diligence, but to know who you are and how you are, with a lot, with a little, because depending on the resources, your behavior will change. And I'm thinking about, the hierarchy of needs with Maslow, where at the bottom of the pyramid, where you think about only basic needs,
Mhm.
your behavior will be different too when you are fully actualized at the top of your life's pyramid. So you won't be the same person, so to speak, man
Absolutely.
or woman. So it's important that we have these type of conversations to know how we behave. So thank you. I just really wanted to add that also from a coaching conversation there. I see Kevin is asking a question. What do you think of dating? What do we always date? Should we always date to marry? That's a good question. Let me rephrase that. What do you think of dating? Should we always date to marry? In other words, can you just date without having the end road in mind being marriage? Good question, Kevin.
Um, Mireille, I'm going to answer that from Pindy's perspective, right? Obviously, people have different views right now, especially because we live in modern times right now. I'm still a very old-fashioned girl, right? And being old-fashioned has worked for me thus far. Okay. I believe that when you date, there is so much of yourself that you invest, and as women, we are naturally built to build, in
One
everything that we do
tweetable. We are naturally built to build.
to build. Yes. So when you get into a relationship, as much as you may tell yourself that I'm just doing this for fun, to a point, you get to where now you're like, I have fallen in love with this person. I want to build with this person. I see a future with this person. And you invest in that relationship. So I personally would never just date just for dating. Yes, I'll definitely enjoy the dating. I want to have fun in the dating, but I need to be building something. I'm not saying that when you build something, that end goal will automatically happen. I mean, it's like in any business venture, you can invest in it, but it doesn't mean that you will get the returns that you want. So a relationship is the same thing for me. I will invest in it with the hope that I'm going to get a certain return into it. But if then it doesn't happen, then that's how life is. But just to say I'm getting into this relationship just to date,
Mm.
no, you'll be fooling yourself at the beginning. But as time goes on, you will realize that that's not your nature. That's not how you have been created as a woman. That's just not who we are. Maybe for men it's different, but I know for women it's very difficult just to do things for the fun of it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, thank you for sharing your perspective. And I like how you gave a disclaimer that the is from one person's vantage point. And I like also the example of business, comparing it to business nature of agreement. And for me, I also agree with you that you have to define what is that maturity. Just like any loan, like any agreement, that there has to be some kind of maturity. If it is a credit, when it mature, what would I have
Yeah,
achieved? So whether you
absolutely.
are dating for fun, but what does that look like? How far can you go? But what I'm
Mhm.
hearing from you, Pindi, is that you can do that, but it is not in our human nature because we are wired for connection. And you said that for women, it's even harder because we are built to build, meaning it would be difficult to just date for the sake of dating.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. So as she asked, for me it is you can't just date to date. Eventually you're gonna want to see something come out of that dating.
Right. And you need to define what that something is for
Something
you.
is. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great question, Kevin. It definitely has helped us to answer any questions that people might have. So we've got 9 minutes left. If you or anyone listening to us have any questions similar to that, please do ask your questions or comments. If you disagree also with what we just said, by all means, do share your viewpoints, and then we will engage and converse around your viewpoint, because this is Converse with a Coach. We are here, all of us, to talk and learn from each other. So that is a great thing. So, okay, Kevin is saying thank you to you, Pindile, for your perspective. Fantastic. It will be great to hear from someone else's perspective. All right. Pindi, we've got 8 minutes left, and I just really want you to share a bit more on your wisdom nuggets as you were going through writing the book, and also the many people you have interviewed, the stories you've had. Are there any teachable moments you can share with both male and female viewers that are seeking to know how to select the right partner for them? Think you are on mute.
Yes, now I'm back. There's a lot of teachable moments in the book and in my writing, because as much as I looked at 22 characters of men, it's also a very emotional book as well, because I was writing during a time in which I was going through my own tumultuous time in my own marriage. And even with the woman that I had conversations with, I mean, I remember one story that I remember very well that I wrote about in the book. I was in a rush from work, and I don't know what happens with me, but I got stopped by the cops. I think I'm just a speeding girl. And this woman stopped me, and she was a female traffic cop. And she asked me, she's like, why in such a rush? What is going on? And Mireille, I was such an emotional wreck at that time. And I just started pouring out my story to this lady who was a traffic cop. And I told her about the issues that I was experiencing at home. And, you know, when I started telling her that, believe it or not, Mireille, she also broke down. And she told me her own story that, you know what, you are not the only woman who is actually experiencing such things in your marriage. And we just started having a conversation about our experiences in our marriage. And for me, after I left that lady, she didn't give me a traffic ticket thanks to my tears. when I when I left that lady, for me it was that thing that, you know, there is so much that we carry as women, and we are so silent about the things that we carry as women. If we spoke more about our experiences, and not just women, even men, if we spoke more about our experiences, there is so much that we could change in our lives as a whole for both men and women. If my mother, there were certain things that she would have shared with me, I feel that there were certain errors that I would not have made in my journey towards marriage, or even within the marriage itself, you know. And including for my ex-husband, if there's certain things that he also could have learned from his parents, there's certain errors that he probably would not have made as well in the marriage. So it's also about the conversations that we have. I'm glad now we are able to now write books that can be able to teach people, and it can now be that thing whereas I hear Pindi as a woman, and then it can be I hear a gentle gentleman as a man. Now, how do we make it work? How do we learn from each other's experiences to make it work? And even in selecting the right partner, Mireille, it's also that thing that you forget about what it is that other people are going to be saying. You focus on what it is that you also want. Whereas, like I mentioned before, that look into their background. You know, it's very important that you know the kind of person that you're actually going to be spending the rest of your life with, because marriage is meant to be the rest of your life. You know, we didn't choose to get divorced. It's because of certain errors that we did, that we ignored, that landed us up in being divorced. So those are the kind of lessons that in my book, I want people to pick up, that heed to the signs all the time. How a person presents themselves to you the first time, believe it. You know, there's that saying that women change within the marriage and men actually hope that they wouldn't change. That we need to also learn that as well, that when you get into a marriage, there's certain things that you can't change about a person. They need to be able to change it themselves. So you can't now decide that I'm going to get married to this man. The moment he gets into the marriage, he's going to change. It doesn't work like that. It actually gets worse. So it's all those things that you need to heed to the signs. How I present myself to you as Pindi Mireille the first time, best believe that that's who Pindi is. The same thing with the man. The moment he presents to himself before you get married, best believe that that's who he's going to be in the marriage. And as well, when you also give yourself time to know a person, it also allows you to actually realize that I can actually be with this person or I can't be with this person. I know that conversations come up a lot in my talks where people ask me that, do you think that it's good to stay with your partner before you actually get married? All right. And and it's a big conversation, because a lot of other people will say that yes, you can stay with that person because then you'll get to know that person. But as well, in a Christian belief, because I'm a Christian woman, I also believe that you shouldn't be staying with your partner before you get married. But there are other ways in which you can learn on how to know that person before you actually do get married.
Absolutely. And there's so many faiths that share the very same perspective and value. So there's a lot of wisdom nuggets you've just shared. And I think we are a little bit, nearing the time. Few things I heard you said, and I would like the audience to really, really heed to. One, your book really shares a lot of teachable moments, and one of them is a commendation to some extent. You are also speaking to the community at large where we operate. And I know I'm focusing on Africa, but the same thing can apply to the Middle East or different countries, where it is also partially a responsibility for us to share our experiences with others so that they don't make the same mistakes. And you alluded to, mothers and fathers, etc. And I can totally resonate with that from a Rwandan perspective, because there are many things, wisdoms that have not been passed on to us from different generations that could have saved us so much heartache. So
absolutely,
I think we can all, if you're following this, I'm also giving that back to you as an accountability point, being a coach, to see if you need advice, go out there, seek advice. If you need coaching, go out there and speak to someone, so that you don't have to keep all of that bottled within your soul, within your mind, because the rest of your life's performance is impacted, and that could be a conversation on its own. I'm also getting a question from someone in Iran. I know we are almost beyond the time, but because Martin, you are joining us from Iran, I would love to honor your question. So Martin from Iran is saying, thank you for sharing experiences. My question is, how can we choose ourselves and not be accused of being selfish or selflessness?
Wow.
And that's from a man, not a woman. So I love that question, Martin. Thank you for answering that, for asking that.
Sure, Martin, thank you for that question. I also need to think hard about it, that to what point does it become selfishness, right? One thing that I have learned, Mireille, is that I'm sure you know the saying that you need to fill your cup first, and then after that, you let your love overflow from that cup onto other people, right? So for me, that's how I actually apply it in my life, to say that I need to be happy first. My happiness is dependent on me and me alone. At the moment I have that happiness in me, the moment I have that love for myself, it's automatically going to flow onto my partner. It's automatically going to flow onto the people that I love. So I don't think you know that there is something about when you give from an empty cup, you can tell that it is forced, right? You can see then resentment starts building up. So
Right.
I would rather then be able to give those things to myself first, and then allow them to just naturally flow onto people. And people from that point of view, they will see that you're not being selfish, because they will see how you do things just naturally, because you are so filled yourself as well with that happiness and love for yourself, that it becomes so easy to share it with other people, that it can't be confused for selfishness. Selfishness comes then, I believe that it would seem selfish when now I have to give my love, but then I'm not giving it wholeheartedly. And that's because there's something short in me as a person for me to actually feel like I am forced to give this love. It means that something is lacking in me. That's why it seems like selfishness. But if there is so much love in me, then it's not going to be seen as selfishness at all. I hope I've answered his question correctly.
I think you did, because he responded saying, "Oh my God, thank you." So, on that note, I think our mission for today is extremely well accomplished. And for that, I would like to really thank you, Pindile, for sharing your wisdom, not only with us, but with the whole world. And I would like for people to get to know more about your work and your book. How can they get hold of your book and where?
Okay. All right. So right now, unfortunately, the book is only available in South Africa, but in 2 months' time, it will be available on Amazon. And we will also be launching as well overseas, and it's going to be available worldwide. Just 2 more months to go, and it's going to be available on Amazon.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
in April, that should be available worldwide. And for the
Yes.
time being, how can our audience get in touch with you, Pindi?
I am available on Instagram, Pindile_Yende. I'm also available on Facebook, Pindile Yende. Easy to find me.
Bless you. All right. So, what we will also do, we will make sure that the audience has all the links in on this specific platform. So, in closing, I would like to really thank you all for following us. There are two logistical things I would like to share with you as we close. One, if you have not liked or subscribed to this channel, please do that. Like this conversation, subscribe to this channel so that you can get to hear more from this type of enriching conversations between myself as a coach and other thought leaders, authors, etc. on various topics. The other thing is for me to announce the speaker and topic for the next edition. So the next episode of Converse with a Coach will be on the Sunday, 28th of February. So last Sunday of February. My guest is going to be Mr. Basil Mofta, who is based in Dubai. So Basil will join us from Dubai to talk about how to venture out of employment into entrepreneurship. Basil is an amazing partner from Global Ventures, which is a VC company. It's a venture capital company that funds projects, innovations in the West, meaning California, Silicon Valley, and also in the East, in the Middle East and Africa, as I heard. So I'm sure that you will be very much interested in finding out more about how you can venture out of being an employee into becoming an entrepreneur, because we believe that some of the side benefits of COVID might result into people creating, venturing out of employment and truly taking the lead and jumping into setting up businesses, entrepreneurship, ventures, etc. So I'm inviting you to join us back on Sunday 28th, same time. It is 6 p.m. in Kigali or in South Africa, 4 p.m. GMT. And if you are in North America, it is 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, do let us know, give us your feedback on how you find this episode today. And if you have any topics that we have not covered or wish for me and my guests to cover, do send us your comments on our various social media platform. Until then, stay safe, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Pindi.